Curtis Calhoun here with MMA News, and my next guest picked up another big win this past weekend. It's Grant Dawson. How's it going, Grant?
It's going, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And it's always great to chat with you. First things first, obviously you're getting a big win over a guy like Damir Ismagulov that a lot of guys think should have been higher up in the rankings. Obviously a really well-rounded opponent. Just kind of give me your first thoughts a few days removed from the fight.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that think he should have been higher in the rankings. I definitely don't think he's a number 12 guy in the world. I think he's a number 8 or 9 type of guy in the world, especially with RDA still being in the rankings, which makes no sense to me because he's at 170. After the fight, I feel really good. I'm a little banged up in certain areas, but for the most part, I came out unscathed. So I'm just ready to get back to training. I think I'm going to start training again tomorrow. I think we're going to start looking for a fight again tomorrow. And I know you're going to ask me this on who I'm gonna fight next, and I think that the person that I'm looking to fight next is the winner of Jalin Turner versus Dan Hooker.
Absolutely, man. I got to ask you, like, Thiago Moises has a fight coming up, I think, too, right? So does that kind of give you more of an incentive to, get right back in the gym and focus on fighting with his fight and training with him for his fight and all that?
Yeah, I love it when Thiago fights right after me because it gives me a reason to get back into the gym, not just to train, but to actually train with purpose. I would have taken this whole week off, but he asked me to come in to help him out tomorrow. So I'm letting my knees and stuff heal up, and I'm going to go in tomorrow and give him some rounds. So I'm excited to see him fight. The dude is an absolute beast, and I think that he needs to be in the top 15 after this fight 100%.
What's the sense of accomplishment for you personally? Obviously, I know you tune out the critics, but I'm sure you've heard, some speculate like, hey, like, is he ready for a top 15 guy like Damir Ismagulov yet? Like, how gratifying is it for you to be able to silence the doubters and, move forward on this journey?
Yeah, it's great, man. For the first time ever in my career, I was an underdog going into this fight, and then the lines kind of changed and we were even money. And then the day of the fight, the lines changed back to me being an underdog. So a lot of people lost money, and I'm glad they did. So this was big for me to show that the UFC, that you can put me in these main event spots, these co-main event spots against these high level guys that I'm supposed to lose to. And I'm going to have the best performances of my career. You take that pressure off of me. I'm going in ready to kill. So it was a really great week. That's all I can say, man. Just everything went according to plan.
When you look at the beginning of your UFC tenure to now, obviously, so much has happened with your career. You're obviously on a roll right now in the top 15. Like, how gratifying is it for you to know that you're one step closer to achieving this goal of fighting for a world title that I'm sure you've thought about for years and throughout your career?
Man, it's everything. I was talking about too the lead up to this fight. I knew winning this fight means that I don't get to fight backwards anymore. There's no more guys that I'm going to be minus 550 favorites against anymore. It's all about big fights after this, big ranks after this. We're not sure who's going to win or lose type of fights after this. And this is what I wanted. I wanted to show that I can handle that type of scenario. You can put me in there. I'm going to do well. I think that this shows the UFC, you can put me in a main event spot even, and I'm still going to perform. So give me the names. Let me hear them, let's do Jalin Turner. Let's do Beneil Dariush. Let's do these guys. Let's do Charles Oliveira. I'm down for that. I know that's a little soon, but I'm ready. I'm telling you guys, I'm going to be a world champion someday. Let me prove it to you.
Do you feel like the position that you're in almost kind of avoids that trap of being complacent when it comes to training and all that, knowing that, pretty much from here on out, you're facing the top guys in the world, the top lightweights? Does that kind of add any extra juice, to your training and being in the gym and getting better?
I wouldn't say it adds extra juice to the training or anything like that. I've always trained hard. I've always trained smart. I've always put my training before everything else. So nothing changes there. I will say, though, that it gives me confidence. A lot of people, I think, would shy away from that, but it gives me confidence knowing that I went from that kid in 8th grade who wanted to be an MMA fighter to now fighting the best guys in the world. Like that's what's next, is the best guys in the world, because I am the best guy in the world and I want to prove that. And the only way you can prove that you're the best is by fighting the best. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Everything's falling into line. And the cool thing is, man, I'm not even 30 years old yet. I'm still young in my career. I've got a lot of experience for a guy that's as young as I am. And I don't think, I truly mean this, I don't think I've hit my prime yet. I think I'll hit my prime around 31 to 36 years old. And I think that's when I want to start my title reign.
Last time you and I spoke, I believe, was like right when you started training more at American Top Team in South Florida. And I got to ask you about that. Like, how big of a confidence booster, a game changer has that been for you? Like, how much is, working with that team down there meant to you in your career?
Oh, it's everything. They are the reason why I'm where I'm at right now. When I would win rounds at my old gym, I never really took any pride in it because not that those guys weren't good. They were very, very good, but they weren't in the positions that I wanted to be in. They weren't, the top 7 guys in the world, the top 15 guys in the world. They were just, younger up and coming fighters. So when I would beat them in the room, it didn't really mean anything to me. When I win rounds at ATT, which I'm going to be honest with you, doesn't happen a whole lot, but when I do win rounds at ATT, it shows me that I am doing what I am supposed to be doing. Like I can hang with the guys in the top 7. I can hang with the guys that are a weight class above and a weight class below. So it's really a big confidence booster. And then the technique that I've been learning there just has been taking off, man. I think it shows in my fights. I'm doing different stuff than I used to do. I'm way more confident in my striking and in my stand-up, and my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu is just on point.
There's always this idea of certain fighters that have that great fight IQ, right? That always gets talked about with a lot of different guys like yourself and others. And I think one thing that's really stood out about you over your last few fights is that, you do a little bit of everything really, really well. So like, how important is that for you to be well-rounded there in the octagon, being able to, counter your opponent's weaknesses and being able to do a little bit of everything?
I think that being smart in the cage is the number one thing that you could be. For what I lack in athleticism, I make up for it in fight IQ and cardio. So when I'm in there, I've seen a lot of really, really good fighters do really, really, really amazing things and then screw it up because they jump for a guillotine or they put themselves in a bad position because they thought that, whatever. I think one of my best weapons is how clear I am in the cage and how well I make decisions in split-second increments.
And do you feel like you're able to make those mid-fight adjustments way better now, especially, getting those rounds in at ATT and facing, killers left and right? Do you feel like you're able to make those mid-fight adjustments way better now compared to, earlier in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the decision making is around the same, but the speed of which I can make the decision has gone up because these guys here make such good decisions, like this. Every time you're doing something, they're making good decisions. And so for me, I have to be able to keep up. And I think that experience, it's almost like I'm fighting every day safely. I'm not taking damage, but I'm fighting every day safely. We're going through the fight every single day. And so when I get into an actual fight, I'm not worried about accidentally hurting my training partner. The guy is not worried about accidentally hurting me. We can go 100%. We can hit as hard as we want. We can go as deep into it as we want, but the decision making stays the same.
Absolutely, man. I got to ask you a few more questions before we wrap things up here. Once again, I really do appreciate the time. I know you got a lot going on. Jalin Turner or Dan Hooker, obviously, you mentioned that earlier. Obviously, a big fight for your division, a fight that you're really keeping an eye on. Give me kind of a breakdown of that fight. Like, how do you see it playing out? What are some keys to watch with that one?
I think it's going to go to Jalin's pressure over Hooker's striking. I think that Jalin hits very hard. I think that he's going to get into Hooker's face right away, and I think that Hooker is going to be drawn into a firefight. The problem is Hooker is used to being the longer guy when he's drawn into a firefight. He holds his hands kind of low because of the range, so he's used to being able to get out of the way. But I think that the length and the reach of Turner is going to be the thing that gets him in trouble. I think he's going to zig. Hooker's going to zig when he should have zagged and think he's out of range, and then he's going to get caught on that chin. I do think he's going to lose this fight. I do think that Jalin Turner is going to get it done, and I do have it by finish.
Obviously, it's a huge card this weekend. I feel like one of the talking points that hasn't really been talked about enough is this is going to be Robbie Lawler's last fight of his legendary UFC career. I want to get your thoughts on his retirement, and if you do you have a favorite career memory from him and watching him fight over the years?
Yeah, yes to both of those. And the thing about it is too is I think the reason why nobody's talking about it is because this card is absolutely stacked. The UFC never fails on International Fight Week, and man, did they do it again. Absolutely banger card. My favorite moment, my favorite Robbie Lawler moment will always be when he fought Rory McDonald, both covered in blood, and they stare each other down with 1 round left to go. And Robbie's lip is like literally split up, like probably like this far, just gushing blood. And they're just like, who wants it more? Who's going to win this more? I live for those types of moments. I don't fight like those types of moments, but I live to see those types of moments. That kind of stuff just gets me going, man. I absolutely loved watching Robbie Lawler fight. He's an absolute stud.
No doubt about it, man. Well, before I wrap things up here, I'll give it the final word to shout out any sponsors you're working with, shout out your team, all that good stuff. I'll give it the final word.
Awesome, guys. Hey, go follow me on Instagram and also follow me on TikTok. I'm doing a new series on TikTok called Making It to the UFC with Fight IQ. And basically all I'm talking about is the things and the decisions that I had to make growing up, going through stuff that I had to figure out on my own. I think that a lot of young fighters are really misguided, and I think a lot more young fighters can make it to the UFC than they think, but they get put in these positions where they take bad fights or they take bad this or they screw themselves over this way. So it's just stuff we're talking about. Reach out to me, ask questions. I love talking to young fighters about this kind of stuff. Reach out to me on Instagram or TikTok. Go check me out there, guys.
Absolutely. Well, Grant, I appreciate the time. Always great chatting with you, picking your brain a little bit about fighting and all that. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon, man. Thank you so much, and congrats again on the win.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.